G'day you mob, welcome to my channel Pete vs Plants. I am Pete, these are the plants. Today I'm giving you a 1 and a 2 week update on the clone station that I bought. This is supposedly the fastest way to root cuttings that you have taken. So we put it to the test with 5 different groups, 4 different species, but we did 2 variations of adansonii. If you haven't seen the unboxing and the setup video, make sure that you go and check that out above. If you have seen it, let's just get into this one. Man, guys, it's been a week. That flew by since we put together that aeroponics system. So I'm gonna grab it out and we can have a little sneak peek. But yeah, what do you reckon? Do you reckon there's gonna be roots on the brandtianum and the other things I put in there? I think it was some adansonii, a Scindapsus or Scindapsus, and there was something else. Skeleton key, Epipremnum. But yeah, I don't reckon there's gonna be any. You know what? I don't reckon there's going to be any, but I'll go get it and we'll see together. All right, so here it is. And I mean, there's some good signs, like the growth point of this Scindapsus argyreus here is growing. It seems to be the same sort of thing for these Epipremnums. I guess we just take a look, right? But maybe I just pull out one of these at a time and we can have a little look if I can get them out. See, yeah. So this one's done nothing. This one's done nothing. This one's got some growth. That's pretty cool. It is sort of funny how it's kind of hit and miss depending on the cutting, I guess. Some of them have sort of aerial roots going and they just take off, I guess. Here's another one. There's a little bit of growth on that one. This little guy hasn't done a great deal. Same thing here, not much. Oh, these ones have popped slightly. Nothing here. And oh, a little bit of poppage here, tiny amount. And then, okay, so that was the brandtianums. Then lastly we have the brandtianum. Now I put this brandtianum in semi-hydro. This was the bottom plant or plants. I can't remember if it was both or just one. The roots don't seem to be doing amazing, guys. I'm not sure if there's a lot of root rot going on there, but I don't see a lot of growth, fresh growth. The plant does seem to be, holding on and not much has really changed. I don't see anything happening at the top here, but despite the water reservoir being pretty low, and I don't think the roots are sitting in it, it just doesn't seem to be thriving, and you will notice how fine the roots are too. So anyway, I guess we'll just see how it goes. Now, should we look at the cuttings? Oh, what else we got? We've got the argyreus. We'll do them first, I guess. All right, so here are the cuttings for the brandtianum. So they're all looking good. I mean, in terms of the leaves, nothing's rotted off yet, but let's go through, and can I have a cheek peek under the skirt first? Let's go through each one. It doesn't seem to be anything too amazing, so I may have just sort of spoiled it. A little bit of root growth there, that's nice. We've got 12 of these, remember? Okay, nothing there, nothing, nothing. Oof, tiny little root coming out. Ooh, here we go. Couple of little roots there, some roots here, tiny little roots coming out here too. Yeah, so this is the sort of deal, I guess. It's like maybe 1 or 2 millimeters of roots on about half of these cuttings. This is a difficult one to get out, I think. Here we go. Same thing there. That's probably the best one so far. And I think we got 2 left. Nothing. And last but not least, it's not bad. A little bit of action there too. So that's got a bit of a root growing behind. I'm not sure if you can see it down in here. It's probably about 1/2 centimeter long. So that might be the best one out of the bunch. We can now go through the Scindapsus. So do them one by one. Wow, I'm actually quite impressed with this one. Check out these roots. So that's usually, I don't know, that's more than I would expect with the Scindapsus. They're usually a real pain in my butt. Same thing here with this one. Same thing here with this one. So that's done pretty well in this system. So let's see how that's done. Okay, this seems to take quite a while. So I'm not sure if you guys can see, there's a tiny little nub coming out there. I haven't really rooted Scindapsus very quickly, to be honest. anytime I've tried to propagate it. Wow, okay, but it does definitely seem to be faster than when I water prop. When I water prop, it takes probably about a month to get that, at least under the conditions that I have here at home. And then lastly, and this is cool because it's again top cutting, root looks pretty average there. Check that puppy out, that's about 1 inch long as well. So yeah. Now we'll do the adansonii. So let me pull this out. This is large leafed adansonii. Yeah, a little bit of poppage there. Oof, that's looking good. Very good. And this one too. The adansonii have all popped. So I reckon in the next week they're going to take off. I reckon. All right, the next one is the monkey face. Okay, let's see if I can get this out. Oof. Bit more action too. A little root growth there. Okay, not bad. That's about 0.5 centimeter. Get that guy back in there. And next one. Looks like it's sort of the same deal. Back in. And the last one, which is a top cutting. So hopefully this is the most impressive, but it doesn't seem to be. Root growth there as well, again. So that's pretty cool. All in all, it seems to be working, but it's just going to take a little while. And I guess, you know, to be fair to the guy who was at the store and originally said roots within 7 to 10 days, maybe he meant like the tiniest initial roots will appear in that amount of time, as opposed to it will be ready to plant in that amount of time. Because that's what that was the vibe I kind of got. It was like, what? So it's like the roots will be done in 7 to 10 days? Like, you got to be kidding me. Okay, next one, the monkey mask. These have sort of done a similar thing to the adansonii var adansonii, where they sort of start yellowing off. All right, so tip cutting here, tiny amount of growth there, but not much. Let's just take them all out. I get them out easily. Same thing there, tiny amount. This one doesn't look like it's done much at all. And it seems to be a sort of similar story for these. There seem to be like the smallest little white dots of root growth on some of the tips of these aerial roots that you can kind of see it's just starting to shoot out some roots. So it's only just starting to get going. Same thing. So yeah, I think again, Aeroponics is one there with the monkey mask, and the skeleton key has done really well as well. So I'll chuck these guys back in. I'll probably change the water over for these guys too. All right, the Epipremnum. Ooh, yep, so I'm not sure if you can see there. There's quite a few roots popping out and developing quickly. We looked at this one, that's popped, and this one's popped as well. So these were the Epipremnum skeleton key. So we got root growth on the bottom there, and interestingly, the humidity at the top's obviously really good, and these roots at the node closest to the growth tip are really going bananas, and that's not surprising. Usually those are the most active. The roots coming out of the node closest to the growth point will be really active. Same thing here, it's about 1 centimeter and about 1 inch here at the top of root growth. That's pretty cool. And then one more here, and all of these I should add, same thing there, nice little root growth at the bottom. I should add that each one of the skeleton keys were top cuttings because we took them off the plant. So we didn't have any in water. All right, and last we have the adansonii var adansonii. This one doesn't look like it has done anything. Whoa, okay. That one's probably the most developed out of any that we've seen so far, and it's actually got a growth point that's popped on that side. So that's pretty impressive. And then last but not least, oh, another impressive one. Oh, uh-oh. That's gonna be annoying. So I've just noticed this wet stick has the leaf dying on it, and so I think that is gonna fail. But you know what we could try? We could try just wedging the wet stick in this little foam thing and see if it continues to root below anyway. I assume it'll be fine. Let's see, is this one still holding on? Nope. So we have an escapee. Okay, one of the adansonii is probably floating around inside the, oh, yep, he's sunk down inside the reservoir here. Ooh. So hopefully that hasn't tainted the water too much. It's hard to tell sometimes with these adansonii because the roots kind of stay a bit sort of, I don't know, brown in colour, but there does look like either a root or a growth point coming up the top here that's white. But yeah, okay, so that'll be an interesting one. I'm not sure sort of how to continue with that. Maybe I'll leave it above like that, or the other way around. It's an interesting one. Maybe I try and do it like this. That might be the go. Okay, so I guess we'll start with the adansonii. I think that was adansonii, right? Was that adansonii? Yeah, that's adansonii. So, I mean, leaves like this rotting off, guys, is pretty much normal. You know, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, for one reason or another. So, I guess we'll chuck this guy here. I'll move the reservoir out of the way, and we can just go through one by one and sort of have a bit of a comparison. So, okay, yes, next one. So this is also adansonii, I believe. Oof. Okay, so 2 weeks. We have some pretty decent root growth. That is about probably 2 centimeters of root growth on each of the roots there. So that's looking great. The leaf's looking great. I'll put him back in. I am somewhat at a loss for what happened here. I can't remember if maybe I pulled the leaf off last time. I don't remember. But same thing below. There is about, I don't know, half a centimetre to a centimetre of root growth there on that one. So that was the adansonii var adansonii, which is this one here. So we'll have a look at that first before moving on to the next batch. And this is something I've always noticed, at least with this form of adansonii, when you try and take leaf cuttings, and it's the same with Monstera leichleriana. I'm trying to think, is there another one that I've done this with? When I've taken cuttings and put them in water like this, I've had them just crinkle up and the leaves tend to dry out and fall off, and eventually they all just turn into wet sticks. They may still take, but I have this happen quite a bit. And I mean, I'm not sure why, if maybe the leaves are just too big and they can't sustain themselves. I don't know what the deal is. So if you guys have any advice, please let me know. But what I am gonna probably have to do is turn some of these into wet sticks because the leaves have well and truly rotted off. All right, maybe I just pull all these guys out and we can have a little look-see. I might also change the water over as it's a bit gross. All right, so to be honest, I can't really, I can see one that is kind of comparable. That's looking pretty good. That's a decent amount of root growth there. And it's coming out of at least, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different areas. So that is really good. And I expect this one to kind of take off, I think. But yeah, you wouldn't have thought it was doing great if you just looked at the leaf. I'll chuck it back in the water for now. We'll just go through one by one. All right, so again, one with a really horrible leaf here. I might just take it off and turn that into a wet stick. But it has some limited root growth coming out of here, and I think out of the bottom of this aerial root, the tip of which had rotted off. And it has also developed a point. I often see them do that. They often develop this growth point first. So I'll just chuck that back in there for now. Okay, this one has done nothing. This one has done, the root, aerial root has rotted off, but on one of the stumps there is a bit of root growth there. And I'm not sure, I think that's a little bit there too, and the growing eye should be on the inside here, but it's done nothing yet. So again, another wet stick. This leaf's on the way out. Okay, next one here, doesn't seem to have done much at all. Chuck that back in the water. This one looks like it's sort of a similar story. It's got some root rot here. So I'll take those off. Those ones are all right. That one is not all right. And there's a tiny amount of something, undifferentiated cell expansion or growth there too in that bit. So anyway, I think you get the point, guys. I'll go through these individually later on. A little bit of root growth there, but nothing compared to the inch or so that I had of root growth on that other cutting in the aeroponics setup. So that was really impressive. And you know, this one as well, it's got a little bit of development there. But again, nothing compared to what we saw on at least that one. Obviously it wasn't every single cutting, but that one. And same sort of thing here with these other ones. There's a little bit of growth point action, a little bit of root growth, but besides that, not much. And these have been sitting on a heat mat, and I have topped them up with my sprayer, which has also obviously injected a bit of oxygen into the water every time that I see the water level has dropped. It just goes to show how they root differently under the same conditions, right? So yeah, it is really interesting. I was kind of expecting them all to kind of do the same job. I can do an update video in the future when things have completely rooted or when I finish this batch. But there's your 7-day update and your 14-day update. I was gonna do a 10-day update, but I came down with a cold, so forgive me for that. But I didn't really feel like getting in front of the camera when I was like on death's doorstep. One thing that I will mention is that it does seem like the humidity in the dome is also really helping some of these cuttings push out roots really quickly. So you might, want to think about that if and when using one of these and taking cuttings, that perhaps you want a node below, getting that water and air to hopefully push out roots, but also potentially a node above. And that might be a way of pushing out twice as many cuttings, because you could just then snip and get a mid cutting as well as that top cutting or other mid cutting later on after you finish the fact. Because yeah, it seems like the dome keeping in that humidity is also triggering the nodes above to push out growth. So there you go. Sorry about the light, but that's the humidity dome there. And I see this most of the time during the day. There's just fog everywhere in it. So I've opened up the top little slits here a little bit to just let a bit of moisture out. So yeah, that's it. If you guys have any experience with these sort of aquaponics, aeroponics sort of setups, let me know in the comments below. Could I do anything better? Could I speed this up even more? And YouTube reckons you're going to enjoy this video. I'll see you there. Catch you later. Tooroo.